was that at some moment in time you were homeless.
Yes, so a couple years back I had kind of a bad addiction, depression, and a lot of stuff going on. And I have a really supportive family, but they just couldn't deal with it, and that's how it is with a lot of families, you know. It's just like part of it's just an unfortunate thing that happens in society or the world. And yeah, it was like I said, I was really excited when I found out about it, because you know, it's like a constant up and down struggle that I've had, you know. And I'm good with my family now, but in the past, like, you know, just I was going through too much stuff, and it was just a really unfortunate situation. So I went through a lot of different programs, rehabs, county jails, and stuff like that. So I was constantly in and out of that, trying to get everything together in my life.
What was the difference that this made for you? What changed? What was this about? Why did this help?
This helped a lot because someone finally listened, and it wasn't like so much as a label as it is in society with different types of programs, like, say, rehabs kind of can give you, or even, I don't know, in my opinion, like AA and different sorts of help. This is just a straight up we help kids program.
Wow.
You know.
And do either of you want to speak to that?
AHO is more appealing because there aren't any strings attached, and you have a lot of freedom to take care of yourself within the program. Other programs will give you a service that kind of lock you in, and for kids that's very intimidating because life is unexpected, especially if you're a homeless young adult, and you can't always. For example, at a shelter I had to stay at, I could stay for a week, but if I had to be gone a night, my week reservation was gone. And Zara allows us to take steps that have risk, because we can always go back to her, and that's great.
Jenny, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I myself, I went homeless because I was living in Santa Rosa, and I've gotten out of the group home. And so I was raised in a group home system, and so when I left, I didn't really have all the skills, the life skills, that would help someone to live on their own and to be their own person. And so I usually use the metaphor of I had a house and I had the tools, but I wasn't taught how to use the tools to fix the house. So once the house is falling apart, then I didn't really know how to refix what I was falling into. And so that's when I called Laura Taylor from my old group home, and she got me contacted with Zara Babitsky.
And that's what keeps me going. They are so amazing, so wise, so resilient, so open to changing their circumstances, and are giving back for the help that we provide, sharing their stories with other youth in films like this, letting youth know that we exist, and doing whatever they can with that age group. They're still excited about life, even though they're having many challenges.
And it's scary for many people around who have to hear about these stories, and I feel like I receive some backlash because youth homelessness makes people kind of question the state of reality, because the reality is you grew up with good parents, you should do well, and some kids don't have the best situations, and it just makes the story a bit more complex about growing up, and that's very scary for people to think about. But I would have appreciated more empathy, or even just more thought, because that consideration reminds me that I am human. And yeah, a lot of people associate homelessness with not being human, and that's the number one thing we need.
Well, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just get jobs? And if you just get a job, or why aren't you in school, or how does that
Because the situation is when everything is really bad at that moment, physically, there are a ton of reasons why you can't get a job because you don't have a car, you don't have anything to even get to a place to get dressed and change. Like, things take time. Like, you need to get clothes so that you can even show up to the job. You need to take a shower, you need to find food, and all those situations aren't factors that are always there at that very moment. So you get stuck in it.
Plus, jobs require, a lot of them require just such, like, obedience and strictness around timing and stuff, and you're coming out of a very chaotic life. So it's hard to just go from black to white immediately. And I'll give, like, an example of my situation. I tried many times to get a job when I was becoming more and more homeless. My dad was suffering from a mental illness, and we had just moved here. He didn't know anyone, so I was on my own with dealing with him. And I would have a job at Whole Foods, or I'd be going to school, and he never goes to sleep on time. So if I wake up in the morning and I accidentally wake him up because it's a small apartment, suddenly things are getting thrown and the police are there and I'm not at work anymore. And so it's very hard to adjust. And plus, this is Marin, so you can have a job for a month but still not have a place to stay. And even after that month, what's a month's worth of, like, minimum wage compared to the rent around here? It's impossible.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
I told Mike, how could people fail to support you? I mean, I think you get a lot of support, but just want to open my checkbook. I appreciate so much what you're doing. But how did you get started?
So Jimmy, little background, Jimmy was the inspiration for me founding Ambassadors. So he's been with the organization from the beginning.
I'd really like to understand what it's like as a young person to be homeless.
Well, I mean, I'll just say it is hard. It is hard to delve into it just because you're constantly living like that is, in a manner of speaking, that's like where you're coming out of, or where you sort of relate with, and but it is important to be spoken about so that healing can happen, so that people can move on. And so I'll speak for myself. It was just very demeaning, and it was very difficult. I didn't want to be a statistic because I was already in the system before. So now when I was homeless, I was already a statistic and I was already failing again. And I was just feeling low and just feeling like, wow, look, I've disappointed everybody and I've failed at all the opportunities I was given. It was a really sad moment of just trying to find self-worth and trying to find who I am and who, not have the title of being homeless and, oh, I'm a homeless person. Nobody, at least I myself, I don't want to be put into that category, or I don't want to be labeled. And so it was just all very, very challenging, and you needed support. Zara was that support. AHO, Ambassadors of Hope and Opportunity, was that support. And I was just glad for being there. That's just sort of a little skimming the top of it.
Yeah, thank you. I know that's hard, and I appreciate it. And either of you want to speak to that?
I'll go quick. Yeah, there was a time when in between Joe where I was kicked out of a place and I was living in an abandoned house and I was couch surfing, and it just was really, really bad because problem in my opinion with homelessness, especially in a place like this, is that you make an effort. Obviously as a kid you're not going to want to be like, look, I look homeless. Like, no, you're going to do everything you can not to look homeless, and it's a hard subject to approach, extremely sensitive. Like, the best way I can think is just putting yourself in the shoes for a second of if you didn't have a place to live, like how that would feel. It sucks, with a lack of better words, and emotionally overwhelming, and you want to give up and you're just grateful that you don't and you keep moving. But that's, I don't know, it's scary. It's a crazy feeling.
Very chaotic.
Yeah, chaotic is a good way to put it.
That there are more kids that are becoming homeless because the college tuitions are so expensive, and
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect storm
Yeah,
I
that's a good
believe that
point.
there's many in life. One thing I've realized is that there's never it takes more than just one thing to make a situation. Situation's very complex and life's very complex, and the more we try to simplify it by, is it this or is it, then the more we're not really paying attention to the fact that AHO is actually addressing all these things, and that is why it's multifaceted. That's why it's able to be, it's customizable in a manner of speaking, so that yeah.
I would say it's like
Well said.
she's like a medic on a war ground, meaning like no matter like what the situation is, she's like there to help the specific need that's there, and that's like something that a lot of places can't do because they only address one need and
Yeah.
get caught up in a lot of the stuff going on. Yeah.
And like yeah, exactly.
So do you reach out to other kids on the street? Do you like reach out and see who's out there, or how does that work?
Well, I'll speak for myself. I since the older I get, the more I am slipping out of that group. But the more I realize that actually now I'm able to just refer anybody and everybody, even people who want to help, people who need to. Like before, I was just more focused on help. Like I'll just give out Zara's number to anybody that I met because I was on the street, or I was hanging out with people who were on the street, and whether I felt comfortable with them or just because I was on the street.
Yeah.
But I'll just give people her number, and to this day I still give people her number, and like, hey, and now I speak to people who are older and they have friends who are younger or something like that, and so we'll get contact with this, and so I give them the card. I don't know how you guys do it.
I'll tell them a little about Zara and see if they want the number. And I definitely feel a lot better about giving Zara's number out, because when someone's in need and it's like, okay, well, here's a shelter's number, I don't feel like I'm doing them a service. I feel like I'm giving them a gray option that they're not too happy about, that might hurt them a little. But with Zara, it's like a complete liberation. Like, here's actual help, and there's like no hesitation with that.
And that's the other thing about shelters, that there's a stigma,
Yeah.
So to it's not inspirational, in my opinion, for me, to be in a homeless shelter. It's not inspirational, because then I'm like, this is what I'm looking. This is gonna be my future type of thing. But so if I'm able to call Zara and be like, hey, what's up? Come here, and communicate and be able to just be around healthiness. Then hopefully that's gonna rub off, and hopefully it's gonna inspire, and then also it's non-threatening, to be around here and around this beauty and just communicating, and and having somebody flexible like Zara to communicate with is very appreciative.
And she relates to you with who you are, what you're about to become, rather than your mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's
I need Zara. How do you clone Zara?
That's what I've been wondering for years.
Yeah, I don't think Zara can be cloned.
I've been trying to figure that out.
Seriously.
I sincerely believe that what it is about us learning and gleaning and drafting off Zara and learning as much, and then being able to give that back, and just I just believe she leads by example.
I think I think she has like a mindset and an application to life that I think needs to be applied a lot, and she's not looking for a product, she's not looking for an ultimate conclusion that reflects her or anyone else in a certain way. She is simply trying to be a tool of help. Here's where help's needed, she's there. She's not looking for you to turn out a certain way, which is where parents get really frustrated, and she's not looking to see where she went wrong because you went wrong. She's just trying to be helped.
Where can we move on from this, and how can we grow from this? What could we learn? AHO has helped me apply and look for housing and such, I myself, I found a place through the help of AHO, but I also found a place with my friend, and I live there now, and I get my mail. I'm there.
That's great. That's great. And either of you?
She is there to help me every step to like find out what I need. At the time, I've been fortunate in that family has like been there, but financially, like things have been extremely hard lately. So she's helping me like find specific work and all sorts of stuff like that. So it hasn't been the specific need at the moment. The big need is like making sure I don't go back to a place like that, you know.
Yeah, your house now though.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah. Yeah.
And for you?
She helped me find housing in the beginning when I needed emergency housing, and then I didn't have a job, so she had me doing jobs to prepare for Youth Connect.
I would say the three key things AHO is about, in addition to being a safety net for youth that are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless, is educating the community, inspiring them hopefully through our forums and all the events that we do, so that people take action and do something to step in and help shift what's going on in our community around homeless youth.